hopefully we understand how to make HTTP requests from the JavaScript or AJAX. Now we're going to talk about JSON. A JSON, or something you hear as the JSON or whatever, just the pronunciation. But what is JSON and why it's getting famous in this day? So JSON stands for the JavaScript Object Notation, which is the type of the readable data format and usually used to transfer data between the server and the client side via the API endpoint and using with the AJAX. It is practically lightweight to send the data back and forth so that it can enhance the performance when we transferring data over the network. Now, if we compare to the XML format, which is take the same roles, but there are many opening tags and closing tags. As we hear that JSON is came from the JavaScript objects, that not exactly means it does work only in the JavaScript, but we also use in any other languages like C#, Python, etc. Okay, so basically, object in the JavaScript should have a key and value pairs inside the curly braces, and each pair separated by a comma. That is we call an object. So the types of its values can be a boolean that accepts true or false value. Array would be hold more than one value, but it can be different type of the each value. And string would store a pure plain text that is usually from a word to describe something. And objects contain key and value pair. That means we can use in nested value type and the number supported decimal value. Just for convenience to remember, we would call Boolean, which is B for boolean, A for array, S for string, O for object, and N come from the number. Okay, again, it's not a formal abbreviation, just convenient things. Okay, we have only two stages to step into the JSON, and things we need to know are an object and array. Now we create another new file to demonstrate how we use or create JSON data before we move to our existing code in the previous video. Okay, let's say we want to store the data about a person, so we could create a variable that's gonna be a person. At the beginning, I said the objects in the JavaScript have key value pairs and live inside the curly brace. So now the first property should have name as the key and the value is John. And objects can have different properties. So let's add another one is age, and we're gonna set the value is 25. As we see, each key of the object is written inside the double quotes as a string, and to assign the value to the property, we use the colon between those, and it works just like an equal sign. That how we create an object. When we want to insert another properties into the object, we have to separate the properties with the comma to distinguish each property. Now we have an object person which have the properties name and age. And if we want to access the values of name, we would say person.name. And this will return a values of John as the text. And it depends on the data type of the value that we assign it to the property. If we want to get an age, it would return 25. That's it for the stage 1. Now, we know how to create and access the data inside the object. So now let's move to the next one, which is the array. So what is array? Why we need to store the list of data in a single variable? Array is the batch of the data that could store inside a single variable name. So for the example, when we register a Gmail, there are some gaps to fill in, and we notice that there is a combo box collection of the month, which is allow us to select the month of birth, and that is gonna be using array to fill in a single combo box. So this is just a piece of the example to using array. Let's say we want to create a variable that contains months of the year. As we know, there are 12 months. To do that, we're gonna create another variable, and that's gonna be a month equal to square brackets. And this we call an empty array. Now we're going to put some months inside that. For example, we're gonna put 4 months, January, February, March, and April, just like this. And each those values split it by the comma. Now we create a collection that we have 4 elements, all are text. Let's say we want to access the third value, which is March. To do that, we're going to type months, square brackets, and then a number 2, so that we can access a third value. Because array is 0 base index, that's we count from 0, and this means to get January, we have to change this number to the 0 instead of 2. And if we want to get February, that's gonna be number 1, and so on like that. Now we have go so far on an objects and array, but where is JSON? Okay, so let's reveal it. Let's say if we combine these things together. For example, I want a single variable but contain multiple persons as the collection of a different person. To do that, we're going to create another variable names, persons, and that's gonna be array. But in this time, the value is not going to be a simple text. We're going to replace those by an object. So to define an object, we just open the pair of the curly brackets, comma, and then another object, comma, and then insert another one. Now, we can see the formula much like an array, but the type is an object. Then we can put the objects, and we're gonna copy this person and then paste it. So this is the first object in array. Let's pass in another one is in the bracket, and this time we're going to change his name to the Joe and the age is 23. Okay, now we have a single variable that contains a data of the persons, and this format we call a JSON. In another word, we call it JSON array because we have array, the square brackets, and inside that we have the objects. Now if we want to get a name from the first objects in array, we're gonna type persons, and the first object is index 0. Then we want the name, so dot name, and now it will be returned John. Cool. We have learned array and objects, and after we combine together, we get a JSON. So hopefully we understand how to create and how to access the data in JSON. So let's go back to our previous code. We have made HTTP request with the vanilla JavaScript and the API endpoints to retrieve the data from the server. And those processes would come into our ready state change. And when we make the request success, we would get the data which is in the JSON data format. And this data format, which we can see here, is not really in JSON. Why I can say this? So to verify what I'm saying, we're gonna put a keyword type of over here. And this keyword will return the data type of this result. And we would see that it is a string type. When this format in a string, we cannot access any value inside that. It just tricks our eyes. So we have to convert those into the JSON format. To do that, we're gonna create another variable called JSON. Then we're gonna call the methods JSON.pass, and inside those parentheses, we're going to put the data, which is the string that form in the JSON format. And this line methods would convert those string formats into the real JSON object. Then we're going to get those properties by saying JSON.data. So the data in here is would return as an array because we can see the square brackets in here. if we want to get the first objects by saying json.data and the square bracket. And inside the bracket, we're gonna put the index number. That's gonna be 0, and then a property is the email. Now we can see in the console, print out the email as in the first object. Alright, now we actually know how to use JSON, so hopefully we can understand those. And for the next, we're going to talk about the callback function, how to use, and why we need them. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe to my channel and see you in the next video.